Hi there, this is Dr. Evan Osar with the Institute for Integrative Health and Fitness Education. Welcome to this edition of Integrative Movement Insider. And this is part 2 of a 5-part series on maintaining hip mobility. And as I discussed in video number 1, so if you missed that, go check that out first, because this information builds and develops directly upon the information I shared in video number 1. The reason we're calling it maintaining hip mobility is that you already know and have strategies, very effective strategies, for developing hip mobility in your clients and or patients. So the challenge is not to develop hip mobility, it's how do you help your clients and patients maintain their hip mobility. And that's exactly why we're discussing this series. And it leads up to a webinar I'm doing with my friend and colleague, Todd Neef, at South Loop Strength and Conditioning. And the information I'm sharing with you, the 3 keys, the information is based directly upon the information I shared in my book, The SOAS Solution, which came out last year. And it's really not about the SOAS, even though the title of the book is The SOAS Solutions. It's really about discussing how the SOAS works with all the muscles of the hip complex to help develop, as well as the muscles of the core, to help develop and maintain stability of the thoracopelvic cylinder, so the thorax over top of the pelvis, as well as the ability to maintain and center the femoral head, the ball within the acetabulum or the socket of the hip joint. Because as we discussed in key number 1, one of the things that our clients are doing most frequently that decreases hip mobility is they're over-contracting their posterior hip complex. And many of us have been learned that very concept. So that is the first thing we need to stop having our clients do. So once we develop hip mobility, the first thing, stop over gripping, which decreases hip mobility. Now we're on to key number 2. So key number 2 of maintaining hip mobility in your clients and or patients is to focus more on the eccentric phase of the exercise pattern versus the concentric phase. Because too many of us, myself included, we're taught when our clients are squatting or deadlifting to come up and squeeze and really drive that pelvis into posterior pelvic tilt and squeeze those external hip rotators and glutes and hamstrings to really focus on strengthening those glutes. The challenge for the majority of our clients, especially the clients that struggle with chronic low back issues, hip mobility issues, as well as knee issues, is they never get into proper anterior pelvic rotation. Because it's anterior pelvic rotation, and it's really rotation of the entire thoracopelvic cylinder, so the thorax stacked on top of the pelvis. It's the entire thoracopelvic cylinder rotating anteriorly that eccentrically loads the glutes, the external hip rotators, as well as the hamstrings, and that's what ultimately will drive the concentric phase of the exercise pattern. And here's what it looks like. So you help your clients align head and neck over thoracopelvic cylinder, anteriorly rotate the entire cylinder so you load up the glutes, hamstrings, and external hip rotators. Then you drive up and not through. So you're driving straight up into extension, but not into hyperextension or posterior pelvic tilt and lumbar spine flexion. So you control and train that eccentric phase, align and control that thoracopelvic cylinder, and then drive up. Control the eccentric phase and really allow the hamstrings and glutes to eccentrically lengthen and then drive up. So that way, the more you focus on the eccentric phase of the exercise pattern, so whether you're doing hip hinges, whether you're doing deadlifts, traditional deadlifts, squats, and or lunges, focus on the eccentric phase of the exercise pattern, load up that posterior hip complex, and then the concentric phase will take care of itself. We've had so much success with our clients and patients here in our clinic, and those clients struggling with chronic low back issues, by teaching them that very concept. Key number 1, don't overgrip. Key number 2, train the eccentric phase of the exercise pattern, or the ability to create anterior pelvic rotation. And remember, it's rotation of the entire thoracopelvic cylinder, not just rotation of the pelvis itself. Train rotation, anterior rotation of the entire thoracopelvic cylinder so you eccentrically lengthen the glutes, external hip rotators, as well as hamstrings. And that is the second key to maintaining hip mobility. So this is Dr. Evan Osar with the Institute for Integrative Health and Fitness Education. Thanks for watching. I'll be back next week with part 3 of this 5-part series on helping you help your clients maintain hip mobility. I'll be at the Medical Fitness Network at Club Industry, the stop here in Chicago, later today. And I'll also be doing a webinar with my friend and colleague Todd Neef at South Loop Strength and Conditioning. We're doing a live webinar, but you can catch the replay on YouTube of that presentation as well. Be sure to check our website, iihfe.com, or Fitness Education Seminars on Facebook Live, and we have an Instagram post. We post on Instagram regularly as well, and that's also the Institute for Integrative Health and Fitness Education. Again, thanks for watching. If you're at the event, stop by and say hi. We'd love to meet people live, and make it a great day, make it a great weekend. We'll see you next week. Take care.